Hello and welcome back to Investment Vitals. Today, I will be talking about a very important topic which is often neglected by retail investors. I'll be talking about money supply and its impact on Bitcoin prices. I know that most people will end up not watching this video, despite the fact that this is a very important topic of consideration for the large investors. However, most retail investors either do not know about it or are not aware of how to use it for their investment decisions. But I do hope that this video is useful to you. If you find the video useful, do hit the like button and share it with your friends and family so that most can benefit out of it. Also, subscribe to the channel and I welcome your inputs in the comment section and I'll get back to you to your input suggestions or discussion points as and when I get time. With that, let me move into the topic for today's video, which is money supply and its impact on asset prices. Most particularly, I'll be talking about its impact on Bitcoin prices. Now, I'll start off with the reason for this video. I'll be covering this in detail. I'll be starting with very basics for so that everybody can understand it in the most appropriate manner. If you find this initial part not so too basic for you, you can move skip to the later section of the video. But I want to discuss about the impact of money supply. Now, any asset price is very to a very large extent determined by the demand that is there. I'll give examples for this. Couple of years back during COVID times, during COVID corona, the impact season of corona, we had seen some prices of some equipments or assets going up substantially. For example, oxygen cylinder. When there was increase in demand for oxygen cylinder, the prices has gone up. We had seen the same thing for hand sanitizers or for masks, so on and so forth. In short, whenever there is a large increase in demand for anything, its price tends to go up. Now, this is common sense, but I would know that many of you would be wondering how does it impact us as yeah, well, investors. Now, it is for that. Let me go to the topic of money supply, which is the core topic for today's video. Before I talk about money supply, let me talk about economic demand. Demand for anything might not necessarily transform into the price of that asset. For example, I might be wanting to buy, well, a huge mansion, but if I don't have the money to buy it, I cannot end up buying it. And hence, economic demand is the demand which is backed up by the ability to buy it. How would an investor measure ability to buy? The simplest way of measuring ability to buy is by measuring money supply. Let me run through the definition of money supply before I go ahead and describe about how to measure it and how can we use it for investment decisions. Money supply, as per Investopedia, is the total money supply is the sum total of all the currencies and other liquid assets in a country's economy on the date measured. The money supply includes all cash in circulation and all bank deposits that account holder can easily convert into cash. What this basically implies is all the money that is available in a certain economy is what money supply means. Well, there are different types of money supply. I will be talking about those, and I'll be talking about the money supply that I am in particular looking at. The there are the main types of money supply that are considered are base money M0, M1, and M2 respectively. Now, I'll talk about what is M1. M1 is also called narrow money, is often synonymous with money supply in reports from financial media. This is a count of all the notes and coins that are in circulation, whether they are in someone's wallet or in a bank's teller drawer, plus the money equivalent that can be converted easily into a cash. A regular bank savings account, for example, is money equivalent. The account holder can convert these savings at cash at any point of time. So what basically M1 money supply implies is the total currency circulation that could be in your wallet, in your house drawer, or in a banker's drawer, and also the money lying in your savings account, which you can draw anytime that you want to, maybe through an ATM. Now, this is many people use M1 as a measure of money supply, and there's nothing wrong about it. It is also a very good measure of money supply. The money supply that I mostly consider is M2. I spoke about M1 some time back. M2 includes M1, which is essentially all the funds in your savings account or in your house, the cash in your house, plus the short-term time deposits in bank and in many money market funds. Essentially meaning that apart from the savings deposit that you have, savings account money that you might have and the cash that you're carrying, you also might, some people might also be carrying certain amount of fixed deposits or short-term investments. Whenever there's a good opportunity to invest, it is likely that some people would break their term deposits or the short-term investments that they have made for a better opportunity. And hence, I feel that money supply M2 is a better measure of money supply in context of when you have to measure the demand that might arise for a certain asset. Now, with that description, the point that I want to make across in this video is in order to be able to measure the ability of collective people in an economy towards an asset can very well be managed, can very well be understood, analyzed by analyzing the money supply in the economy. For purpose of this video, I'll be looking at M2 money supply for a certain asset. For the purpose of this video, let me start with the simple example by comparing the US stock market vis-a-vis United States dollars money supply, which is essentially mean thereby the money supply in US dollars and the corresponding impact on New York Stock Exchange. Currently on the screen is the chart in the chart of the New York Stock Exchange on a monthly basis. It spans from 2015 till 2020 till now. I've also overlaid on it the United States money supply in the orange line here. My voice is not appearing. Just 1 second, please. I think I'll map it again. Something's gone wrong. So let me map it again, no problem. So the chart right now on the screen is the United States money supply, and I'll overlay this along with the United supply money state United States dollar US dollar money supply on a new scale in a different color. Yes, now it is there. So we can see the orange line is the United States money supply, US dollars money supply, and the bar chart is that of the United States SPX, that is the stock exchange, New York Stock Exchange. It is fairly clear that each time the orange line goes up, the stock market also tends to go up. The sharper the rise in money supply of US dollars, the sharper is the increase in the stock market. When the US dollar money supply started to decline, we can see that the stock market also declined. And when the money supply had a slight increase in response to the banking crisis, the stock market also increased. The stock market, for reference again, stock market is the line in blue color, and US dollar money supply is in orange. This is a small illustration, not a perfect example, just to put across the perspective. However, the topic for today's video is money supply and its impact on Bitcoin price. Now, Bitcoin is a global asset. As I spoke some time back, people from different countries invest into it. People from United States, people from China, could be Russia, could be Australia, Canada, you name it. So different countries, people from different countries are investors in Bitcoin, and hence it is important to be able to estimate the global money supply for the purpose of estimating the impact thereof on Bitcoin. Now, given the large number of countries and availability of data or non-availability of data of many of these countries, M2, it might not be feasible to measure M2 of all countries taken together. Therefore, a simple metric would be to check the money supply of the largest economies. On the current page from Wikipedia, we can see the a list of countries by GDP, by their domestic production. Now, this is a good indicator if we are able to measure the money supply of the leading economies. United States, as I have mentioned over and over again in other videos, contributes around 26% out of 104, around 26, which is around 25%, 1/4 of global economy. China contributes around 17-18% thereof. Germany 5, Japan 4. So if we add up the top 4, it is roughly 25 plus around 17 would be around 42 plus 4, 46. Around 50% would be contributed to by the top 4 economies. For purpose of computing or estimating the money supply, what I have done is I have prepared this formula. I'll try to put a link of this in the comment section here, wherein I have taken the money supply of United States, Japan, China, UK, and ECB. ECB is European Central Bank. So these in all taken together would be more than 50%, very much more than 50% of the global money supply, and I've converted all of them in our standard currency. For example, let's presume that Euro, for example, Euro used to be much stronger compared to US dollars, but had fallen drastically. So the purchasing power of Euro had fallen. So therefore, in order to estimate the purchasing power, we have to convert them all in the same currency, and I've converted them all into Bitcoin. The reason I've converted them all into Bitcoin is because Bitcoin, we most of us when we talk about Bitcoin, we talk about the price of Bitcoin in dollars. Therefore, let's now see the impact the money supply has on of all these five major currencies have on Bitcoin price. For this, let me open the Bitcoin price on this chart right now here, and I will measure it against the money supply of all these four economies when taken together. So I'll add up here on a new just one second. I'll added them on a new time scale here. US dollars money supply M2 does not need to convert it because there's a dollar in itself. China, Japanese money supply M2 along with Japanese US dollar conversion multiplier thereof. The Chinese money supply multiplied by the Chinese currency conversion to US dollars. Great Britain money supply versus Great Britain pound conversion to US dollars. And finally, the eurozone money supply multiplied by euro dollar conversion, and that gives me this line chart here in orange. Let me have to put another scale. When we transfer to another scale, we can see a fairly close comparison, at least in terms of indicator of how these pan out against each other. Now, the orange line on the screen right now is the money supply of these economies. Pardon me while I convert it into regular money. Yeah, for better comparison, yes. And I'll move them a little closer to each other. So we can really clearly see each time the money supply increases, Bitcoin price tends to increase generally with a lag, excepting this part in 2018, which was a bear market. Otherwise, money supply goes up. Subsequently, Bitcoin price goes up. Money supply another increase, and Bitcoin price also increased in this section here. Money supplies increased from 2019 onwards till 2020. Bitcoin had a massive bull run in this time. When money supply fell by a small amount, Bitcoin price also fell by a small amount in 2021. There was an increase in money supply followed by increase in US dollars. Of course, this is not an apple to apple comparison, but this is a good indicator of what to look forward for future. When money supply globally fell, we can see Bitcoin price collapsed. Recent past, since December 2022, we can see money supply had increased, resulting in an increase in Bitcoin price. When money supply declined, it was a leading indicator that Bitcoin price might also decline. In recent past, since October, in recent months, since October, money supply has increased, and we can see a massive increase in the US dollar price. I'll measure it once for your comparison, for your easy understanding. In terms of the price range here, we can see the money supply increase from October onwards, and we can see around a 30% increase in Bitcoin price following this increase in money supply. Now, where does it take us to? History is great, great learning, but it is also important to be able to predict the future. Now, as I said, money supply of these economies has been increasing, which I have shown in another plot here. Let me remove the lines that I had drawn for my understanding here. Yeah, we can see on a bar chart here that money supply has increased in the month of November, which was last month. But what it is also equally important to be able to estimate the future so that we can plan our investments accordingly. For this purpose, I'll draw a regression line, which is essentially the average price movement across for all this time. We can see that money supply has been increasing in a sequential basis, which is also in other words, inflation. When we print too much money, of course the value of that money goes down, and hence everything becomes expensive, which is in normal terms called inflation. When we plot this money supply line for these economies from 2007 onwards, we can see at present we are way below the average money supply. Currently, if I measure it from a scale here, we are the money supply is approximately 13% lower than what it should have been if it was following the trend. Now, I know that many of you would be thinking, wow, this is because we printed a lot of money in 2020, and I agree, because this was something at the back of my mind also. If we exclude 2020, and if I change the regression, that is the mean line, till end of December 2020, till December 2019, yes, this would have been the average mean line. Now, if I extrapolate this using a line, let me try to try to draw a line to see where it should have been. If it was following a normal trend, it should have been somewhere around here. So even if we ignore the significant amount of money printing that was done in 2020, even after ignoring that, we should have been at a much higher money supply. Now, what does this imply? If history is anything to fall by, to rely upon, we should expect money supply to keep going up. The trajectory we saw in November is not an aberration. I believe going forward it would increase. I know that United States have been. We all know that United States have been reducing its money supply essentially to counter inflation. This increase in money supply has mostly because of printing of currency by Euro, China, and Britain. These are three economies, but the trend at an overall level shows that we should see an increase in money supply going forward, as and hence November is not an October was not an aberration. We are likely to see money supply going up over the next couple of years. This is not the best economic macroeconomic stance or monetary stance by central banks. However, we know that after the financial crisis in 2008, most most central banks had printed a lot of money, which is also called modern monetary theory. However, what because we have been so used to this kind of modern monetary policy, we can expect that money supply would keep on going forward, and which should generally result in fantastic yields by Bitcoin and cryptocurrency market in particular. I know some of you might also be interested in the impact thereof on cryptocurrency market. So therefore, not just Bitcoin, I'll also plot this across on total cryptocurrencies for those who are interested in this. Now the blue line would be total cryptocurrency, and you can see the behavior is not too different from what the behavior was on in comparison to Bitcoin. Each time we see an increase in money supply, we also see with a lag increase in the total cryptocurrency market. I the basic genesis, the thought process that I have is that the recent money supply increase seen in the month of November is not an aberration, and I expect that the money supply will keep on going up forward. My personal expectation is that money supply should increase by at least nothing else to the tune of 10 to 15%, which in my opinion would be fantastic for the cryptocurrency market and all. However, as I said again, this is not financial advice. This is what I believe the market will do, and my interpretation thereof. Money supply is a very important matrix to keep an eye on. I will be keeping you posted about this going forward. So if you're not subscribed to the channel, do subscribe to the channel. Also hit the like button if you like the video. Drop in a comment so that I know that there's some degree of interest for people to watch these kind of videos, and hence if there's a reasonable amount of interest, I'll keep covering these kind of topics in future. I hope you find the video useful, and I'll see you with another one shortly. Thank you. See you. Bye bye.